welcome in to Revved Up, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of a different intro today. Of course, I was in a bit of a Linkin Park mood today, so I decided why not change up the intro music a little bit there, just something a little bit more lively and stuff like that. Paper Cut, of course, probably my favorite Linkin Park song of all time, honestly. And I know that's going to be a controversial opinion to some, but that's what I think. So, of course, I do not own any music. All rights go to their respective owners and Linkin Park and their respective groups and stuff like that. So, yeah, there you go. So, welcome to Revved Up, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am your host, Carter Leonard, back at it once again this week. And we have a decent amount to discuss on today's episode of the show. Of course, Darlington this past weekend happened. We were able to see the display of 750 horsepower with a little bit of tire fall off at the Lady in Black this weekend. And honestly, we saw some pretty good racing, if you had to ask me. But we will also talk about numerous topics throughout the entire rest of the show. We had some... not only will we talk about Darlington, we'll also be talking about driver performances and stuff like that from the weekend as well. We had some Junior Motorsports new part-time driver news that happened recently. Legacy Motor Club has a brand new partial owner to the group, a Grammy Award winning music artist, but we'll get to that later on. And of course, we'll look ahead to this weekend's action at Martinsville Speedway on both Saturday and Sunday for both the O'Reilly Series and the NASCAR Cup Series. So let's get into the opening segment, which is normally small talk. We normally talk about how we're doing and stuff like that. I'm doing fantastic this week. Last week I mentioned that I had some exams that I had to do, and I passed all of them because, well, I'm a beast and stuff like that. The first one, I got a 83 out of 100, so that's a B right around there. But the next one, I got a 95 out of 100. These were two different classes, by the way, so I didn't want you thinking that, oh my God, he's taking two exams for one class. Like, that just seems, that's just blasphemy. But other than that, we did great on those. But yeah, just relaxing and doing having a fun time with it. Outside of school, though, I'm in an interesting dilemma, and it's not anything like bad per se. It's not like world ending or anything like that. So recently, back on Friday, after I received just a normal paycheck for my part-time job outside of this, I wanted to get a brand new pair of earbuds. Now, the pair that I wanted to get were Beats. Of course, Beats by Dr. Dre, a very noteworthy brand and stuff like that. Because I had AirPods for a while, and they pretty much just wore out and stuff like that, which normally happens. I got a good amount of usage out of them, and I always take care of my electronic devices, even though they don't want to take good care of me. Looking at you, technical difficulties on the show. But anyways, I ordered these. So as of recording this episode, the previous Friday was March 20th. So I ordered those on Friday, and I'm not expecting them to be arrived on the weekend because, of course, that's not business days for most shipping companies. And it says from Walmart that my package will be expected to be here by Monday the 23rd. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. So I only got to wait the whole entire weekend, and yeah, that should be fine. So the whole weekend goes by, and then I get a notification on Sunday afternoon, literally before Darlington, the Goodyear 400 takes place, from Walmart. I get an email from them saying, oh, your package has been delayed. Now, what got me a little bit disappointed was not the fact that they were delayed. It was the fact that they were delayed and Walmart didn't really give me an estimate at the time of when they were going to be arriving. Because when you say something is delayed and you don't say like when the next possible date of them, coming to your front doorstep is available, that raises a bunch of eyebrows, especially for me, because I'm just like, okay, that's fine if it's delayed, but could you give me like a little bit more of like, gee, I don't know, an example of like how many? Is it going to be a couple of days? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month? I don't know. You are being so vague with it that I don't know. So I decided, they're still going to be here this week. I know that. But they now said that the new shipping date, or at least when they were going to arrive, was supposed to be today, the recording of this episode. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. So I'm going to have them midweek. So I'm not going to have to, I didn't expect a full week delay. I'm going to get them in a reasonable amount of time. Then I look at, so the shipping company is, I'm not going to, say, well, I'm actually going to say it who it is. I'm not going to shy away from it. It's FedEx. This show is not sponsored by anybody, let alone FedEx. But anyway, so I look at like the FedEx shipping time, and it says your package should be here on the 25th between 9:45 a.m. to 1:45 p.m. And I'm thinking, all right, cool. So during my break, during my morning shift at work, I look at my email. I don't see anything because normally they'll tell you an email saying your package has been delivered. And so I don't look, and then I look at like the shipping status. Apparently, my earbuds never left the state of Mississippi. So, in case you're wondering, Walmart's headquarters is based out of Arkansas. And they normally ship things to Mississippi. This particular time, it was Olive Branch, Mississippi, which is also the hometown of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Of course, that has no major relation to the story, but I figured it was just something to point out, I guess. It never left the state of Mississippi, so, and now apparently these earbuds will arrive by the time this episode is out into the world. So I might have my new earbuds with me. I might not. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, that's just what's been going on with my life. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, such a first world issue, but it's an issue to me, okay? Not saying that to make fun of anybody who has real issues. I do have real issues of my own, but just it's semi-serious, but it's also semi-funny at the exact same time. That's the way I look at it. But anyways, let's talk about the Goodyear 400, shall we? The sixth race of the NASCAR Cup Series season. 400 miles from Darlington Raceway. Not throwback weekend anymore. You did see some throwbacks in all three series on both Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, but it wasn't a requirement anymore, and that's really a sad sight to see, simply because of because you like NASCAR going through time with all these paint schemes and what they look like on modern race cars, and I think that's really a cool thing to have. But when you kind of run out of ideas every now and then, you kind of just are like, I mean, should we really keep going with this and stuff like that? So I understand why the idea of it running dry was a thing. So there you have it with that. But anyways, so I wanted to talk about Sunday's race first and foremost, because the big story, once again, is the 45 car Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick picks up his 12th career win in the Cup Series and already his 4th win of the 2026 season. I looked through the stat sheet of just past seasons. I don't believe, unless somebody could correct me on this, I don't believe a driver has won 4 out of 6 to start the season. At least not in recent memory. It's been a while if that's been the case. But Tyler Reddick showing that he can win at any track, basically. He can win on super speedways. He's a very good road course racer. He's won on mile-and-a-half tracks. Short tracks can be a little bit better, but he can win on a track like Darlington too, which honestly Reddick should have had his first Darlington win a lot sooner. He's been runner-up at this racetrack a lot of times, but this one, he was able to get the job done there. However, though, it didn't come without its struggles, I will say. It did not come without its struggles. So, Reddick wins the pole. He has a very fast race car, and he's able to lead the first 45 laps of the race in car number 45, coincidentally. But then, after that point during green flag pit stops, you saw the emergence of one team in particular, and that was RFK Racing. Now, RFK Racing didn't have a terrific start to the year, but as of recent weeks, you have seen those cars really pick it up. Mainly the 6 and 17 of Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Mind you, Brad Keselowski is still recovering from that broken fibula that he had in a skiing accident this past year, and he's not missed a race. He nearly couldn't complete Circuit of the Americas a few weeks ago because of all the shifting and stuff like that, and they had sports car driver Joey Hand on standby. But Brad at Darlington was one of the best performances I've seen out of Brad Keselowski in a while, and he didn't even win the race. So ever since Reddick made that green flag pit stop, and everybody did, of course, the 6 car was just a rocket. Was able to lead of course, Brad Keselowski led the most laps of the day. I forget the exact number of how many laps he led at Darlington. I want to double check that real quick. He led a race high 142 out of 293 laps. And he was able to win both stage 1 and stage 2. And Brad was, as we mentioned, Brad did not have a great start to the year, especially qualifying. Like they mainly they talked about it a lot during Las Vegas. While Brad was able to get a top 10 finish at Vegas, he didn't start well. I believe he started like 28th, and that's not really good enough if you really want to show to the rest of the field, hey, I'm going to be competing for top 5 to top 10. So qualifying really had to get better. But regardless, Keselowski has shown speed throughout the whole complexity of the race and was able to dominate from there on out. Then you saw the 17 car of Chris Buescher kind of take over for a little bit. And part of me was really hoping Chris was going to get this win. Not because, like, Buescher was my pick or anything. We'll get to that debacle later on. But we're coming up on 2 years since the infamous Darlington incident with both him and Tyler Reddick. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what a redemption win this would be at a track that Chris could have nearly won at had one thing or another gone his way. And then you had that late race incident between him and Reddick again, although this time it wasn't a bad slide job in the 3 and 4. It was going in the 3 and 4 when the 17 was trying to hit pit road, but Reddick slammed into the back of him, and that really messed up the cycle a little bit. Now, both cars were able to keep going and finish the end of the race, but none were really but Buescher's chances of really trying to take the win away from either Reddick or his own boss were pretty much over. Reddick was able to get back to Brad Keselowski in a big hurry and lead right around the last 25 laps and capture his 4th win of the 2026 season. Although, shout out to NASCAR for this too. During the last couple laps of the race, you saw a lot of drivers not make minimum speed. It started out with the 5 car of Kyle Larson, who Larson had a broken why am I forgetting what he had? A broken toe link. There we go. Had a broken toe link and was just crab walking around the rest of the racetrack. Now, of course, NASCAR officials told him, hey, you need to make minimum speed, and Larson was able to make minimum speed. I don't know how he didn't get black flag, but you also saw a lot of other drivers hitting the wall as well. Chase Briscoe being one of them, the most recent Southern 500 winner. And it's not insane to say that in years past, that would have been a caution and we would have had an overtime restart. But the officiating, I think, has definitely gotten a lot better this year. and making the right decision, and Reddick was able to capture the win the way that he intended to, and Reddick was still one of the best cars all day, despite the fact that he was dealing with cool suit issues. Like, there was one point where the Fox camera panned inside the car, and he's doing he's taking the hose and trying to remove all the warm water inside that cool suit because it's broken. It's not doing anything. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a grind all day long for the 45 team. So even though they make it look easy, it's definitely not easy. But another thing about Reddick's win that I think a lot of people are going to pay attention to is the fact that as of right now, Tyler Reddick is currently in, from what I understand, a contract year. Now, I fully expect him to be with 2311 for more years to come, unless some massive circumstance happens where he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to pass up on this opportunity. Denny, I hope you respect that. But I don't see that. But Denny Hamlin mentioned on Accident Instrumental that they are working on the extension. But as Tyler Reddick continues to win races, the dollar amount on that check and contract are growing by the week. And as they should, Tyler Reddick right now is a top 5 talent in the sport. And I don't think anybody can disagree with me on that right now. And if he's not top 5, he's always been top 10. But with each week, you know, the 45 team has proven that they are just just Toyota in general. Of course, the only non-Reddick Toyota to win was Denny Hamlin at Las Vegas last week, but we expected Denny Hamlin to win a race this year. But overall, Toyota has just been, they have the it factor right now. Toyota, both Joe Gibbs and 2311 have been competitive. And Legacy, they're holding their own weight. Like, they're not at the same level, but they're not at the bottom. I mean, when you look at the point standings as they stand right now, both cars sit 24 and 25th in the standings. So they're above the top 25 in points, which I think that's always been a realistic expectation for Legacy. You know, but it doesn't mean that they're running horrible each and every week. So far, Eric Jones has 2 top 10s, and he ran great at Darlington. He had a really solid car at Darlington. The Wally Dallenbach throwback, that was an interesting pull, to say the least. But Wally Dallenbach, legendary commentator and former Petty Enterprises driver, so it was cool to see a throwback to that. But Eric Jones, something about when he just breathes that Darlington, South Carolina oxygen, he is always good at there. And also a 2-time Southern 500 winner as well, so you can't throw that under the bus. But back to Tyler Reddick, Michael Jordan there once again. And anytime, like, a lot of people, I saw this on social media as well, a lot of people were making these comments. Now, I don't remember these users' names, but this was like before Darlington. This was like after the 3P, when he started 3-0 to begin the year. A lot of people said that while they like the publicity that people are getting, they hate the fact that it's mainly just because it's about Michael Jordan and less about Tyler Reddick. People, you have to understand, Michael Jordan is one of the most, if not the most, popular sports figure in United States history, maybe even the world. If he's not top 2 in the world, he's definitely top 5. When he wins at something as an owner, you're going to have that publicity. And Tyler Reddick, he's getting his own publicity too. He's been on USA Today after he won the Daytona 500. He recently, as of recording this episode earlier today, he was on the Pat McAfee show. So I don't get why people are surprised by this. So I wanted to point that out for a second. But yeah, big congrats to Tyler Reddick. Let's get into some other notable finishers from the Goodyear 400 as well. So Tyler Reddick, of course, his 4th win of the year. Brad Keselowski, a very dominant day, but comes home 2nd. Nothing to be ashamed of. I think if RFK has more days like this, and Ford has more days like this, they're going to be fine. Ryan Blaney had a solid day as well. He comes home 3rd. Carson Hocevar. That's why I really wanted to talk about notable finishers. Carson Hocevar driving a 1981 Dale Earnhardt Wrangler throwback, which the son, Dale Jr., claims is his favorite Dale Earnhardt scheme of all time. Had to start in the rear of the field because of unapproved adjustments that they made after practice. Now Hocevar was actually one of the best 20-lap average times in practice. So when it came to having a long-run car, Carson Hocevar definitely knew how to get there. But that really became evident during that last green flag run, where you saw Hocevar picking off cars one by one as the laps winded down. And you're thinking, oh, he's going to come away with 8th. Okay, he's going to come away with the 6th. Oh, snap. After the day, he's going to come home with a top 5. So from 36th to 4th, Hocevar with another top 5 finish. And it makes you really wonder, had this happened in the middle of the race and Hocevar was able to get out front and lead laps, what could have been? Hocevar has proven before he has the speed, and I think that should really be acknowledged. So Hocevar top 5, 4th place. Austin Cindric was another guy that really caught my attention. And while he didn't set the world on fire like Hocevar did at the end of the race, Cindric was like 5th, 6th, or 7th the entire day. He was consistently in the top 10 the entire day. So I got to give him, like, obviously we don't have golf clap right now. That's an Emma thing. But if I had to give a round of applause to anyone besides Hocevar, it's Cindric. He was consistent all day. Ty Gibbs comes home 6th. Now, while Gibbs' top 5 streak does come to an end, the top 10 streak, however, is still alive. So he has finishes of 4th, 5th, and 6th. He was running up in 2nd at one point for a decent amount of time. 54 car has speed. What can they do with it is my question. But another solid run for Gibbs. He actually has one of the best average finishes right now throughout the first 6 weeks. Daniel Suarez, another solid run for that Spire 7 car. Was kind of peaking inside the top 10 all day, but the number 7 car comes home 7th. William Byron, solid day as per usual. The 2023 winner of this race comes home 8th. Chris Buescher, despite that little run, he still manages a top 10 finish, comes home 9th. And of course, Eric Jones, as we mentioned earlier, follows down in 10th. Now, some other notable drivers that I want to mention that either had positive moments or bad moments. Chase Briscoe, the guy who I picked to win this race, kind of struggled at the end. He was one of the cars that hit the wall. Still managed the top 15 despite all that. But I just figured that the 19 team would be a little bit better. I'm still not worried about them, not being competitive this year. I think Briscoe will win a race or two. It's just a matter of when it's going to be. That's my whole thing. I'm not worried about Briscoe because Briscoe is a Toyota driver and Toyota just has the hot hand right now. SVG comes home 14th, and Shane has gone on record saying that this is his favorite oval to run on the schedule, or a track that he always looks forward to going to every single year because of the uniqueness. So SVG comes home 14th. Connor Zilic, a guy that we have not talked about, and he's the only rookie in the Cup Series field. While his 18th place finish is not the most remarkable in the world, it's still a testament to how hard he fought all day. Now, Trackhouse has not had the start to the year that they've wanted to. Chevrolet as a whole has not had the start that they want to to the year. We'll get into more of Chevrolet for a minute, but the fact that, and particularly Trackhouse, they have not had great speed. They have not qualified well. Just nothing has gone Trackhouse's way. Now, of course, not being a Tier 1 Chevrolet team doesn't help, but even in years past when they didn't have that Tier 1 Chevy help, they were still competitive. But Zilic 18th, not bad for a 19-year-old at Darlington, especially because Darlington has a history with treating rookies harshly, and the fact that he only came away with the 18th place finish really speaks for itself. Christopher Bell, a little bit disappointing with a 19th place finish. You had some other incidents as well in this race. Mainly, Eric Jones was one of the incidents as well, actually. Denny Hamlin got into the back of him in 3 and 4, and Jones really didn't appreciate it all that much. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But Eric Jones still rebounded for a top 10. But yeah, those are the notable finishers from the Goodyear 400. Of course, I did see the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and Truck Series race on both Friday night and Saturday. We'll talk about that in a little minute because I wanted to discuss that. But looking at the Cup Series point standings, once again, Tyler Reddick leads for the 6th week in a row with 4 wins, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. Ryan Blaney moves up to the 2nd position. So no more 23-11 1-2 finish, 1-2 in the points. But Bubba Wallace still up there as well with 4 top 10s. Hamlin 4th, Elliott 5th, Byron 6th, which we saw a little bit of a drop-off from Christopher Bell. He drops 2 spots to 8th after that run at Darlington. But Chris Buescher 7th, Bell 8th, Brad Keselowski 9th, Kyle Larson 10th. Ty Gibbs ended up falling out of the top 10, but that doesn't really tell the full story. Gibbs is still running well. The only main knock on him is the fact that he doesn't have stage points with him right now, and just overall lack of wins, of course. But Ryan Preece 12th, Carson Hocevar 13th, Daniel Suarez 14th, so there's some Spire action going on there. Shane Van Gisbergen 15th, and Joey Logano 16th. So those are your top 16 right now if the chase were to start today. Some drivers on the outside looking in right now. The top 4 from that are Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, Zane Smith, and Ross Chastain. So that's 17th through 20th. Some other notable drivers below. Chase Briscoe, 22nd. Still need a little bit of pickup from them, but I expect it sooner rather than later. Kyle Busch and RCR are just completely non-existent right now. The fact that, obviously, Busch is 23rd in points and Austin Dillon is 26th in points, but I feel like in recent weeks, Dillon has run a lot better than Busch. Riley Herbst, 27th. Connor Zilch, 33rd. And, of course, Alex Bowman still dealing with vertigo issues, so we can't really fully blame that on him. But, yep, those are your point standings going into Martinsville. And then there's also the podcast points. So, let's take a look at that. If I could pull it up here. But, yeah, I lost the point lead. Yeah, not really fun. But now Adam takes the point lead. He now sits at 37 points. I only gained 1 point because Chase Briscoe decided to fall out of the top 10. So now I'm second with 29 points. And Emma had a really solid day because she ended up picking Carson Hocevar to win, and he managed the top 5, so she earns 10 points from that. So there's a very good chance after Martinsville this upcoming weekend that I could be dead last in points. I don't want to be on that losing team, but yeah, that's not something that you want to see. But yeah, so that'll do it for the Cup race at Darlington. And then we also had the Truck Series race Friday night where Corey Heim had an absolute bonsai move in 3 and 4 over Ross Chastain. Both of those guys making part-time starts in trucks this year. In 3 and 4 to steal the win late, his 24th career win in the Craftsman Truck Series. He's not even running full-time in any series for that matter, let alone trucks. And currently, if you look at the Craftsman Truck Series point standings, he's 8th. He's literally 8th, and he's only ran 2 times for Tricom this year. Let me just say this. It's more than clear now that, and it looks like this will be the case, finally this time around, that 2311 Racing's lineup will look a little bit different next year. You will have Bubba Wallace, you'll have Tyler Reddick, but that 35 seat is definitely going to be up in the air. While Riley Herbst, he did have a solid showing at Darlington. I believe Riley Herbst ended up coming... he kind of fell off at the end there. Yeah, never mind, 35th. But he was 12th at one point. I'll give him that. But it's clear and evident that Corey Heim is ready to be in the NASCAR Cup Series. Not the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, but you could make the case that he could do well in the full season there. But he is more than ready for Cup. He is more than ready to have a full-time Cup Series seat with 23XI Racing. And a lot of people in the industry, including Mark Martin, has said that Corey Heim has the potential to being a big-time superstar in Cup. And I fully agree. The only thing that Corey Heim does not have is funding. But I think when he continues to dominate more, which honestly he shouldn't have to dominate more. He's already done enough to prove himself in this series. You're going to see this guy, along with the others of Wallace and Reddick, can definitely elevate 23XI to being a very good organization, a top organization at that. That's not an insane thing to say. As far as the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race went, Justin Allgaier captures his second win of the season. He won his first race earlier, a couple races ago at Phoenix, and was able to get another Darlington win. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe since 2021. That's like, hold on, I got to do the math on this real quick. Yeah, that is 4 out of the last 6 spring Darlington races that Justin Allgaier has won. So anytime when we go to this race, you better pick that 7 car to win. But it wasn't Justin Allgaier's performance that I wanted to discuss. This guy has been talked about numerous times throughout the garage area in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and he doesn't drive for a top team, but with the equipment that he has, this guy should definitely deserve to be in a top seat. And I've talked about him before. It's Parker Retzlaff. Retzlaff, who drives full-time in the 99 car for Viking Motorsports. This guy shows up in the top 10, top 12 most weeks in equipment that really shouldn't even have business being there. So he's been a wheelman in that aspect. And you really got to give him credit for that, I would say. You know, he's done a really good job with that. And if I look at the point standings right now, Retzlaff is currently 9th in the point standings, which obviously there's still a long way to go in the season, but for the equipment that he has, I mean, he's beating guys and finishing better than guys who are in way better equipment than he is right now. We're talking the Haas factory team and 2 Joe Gibbs racing cars in points right now. I don't know what kind of funding he brings, but if he does bring any, he needs to be looked at for a top seat, which honestly, I would have loved to see him in a Richard Childress racing car. But after the whole Daytona debacle, which the 2024 Coke Zero Sugar 400, which was not Parker Retzlaff's fault, by the way, that, like, he didn't do anything wrong. I don't know why people still think that, but he should definitely be looked at for a top ride because of the fact that he's able to wheel. Like, does he have race-winning speed most weeks? No, but the fact that he's able to bring subpar equipment to places where it normally shouldn't be speaks volumes. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. But anyways, that will do it for the Darlington portion of the show. A decent amount to talk about. But I thought overall Darlington was a really solid weekend all around. I honestly thought the Cup race was great. This was really the first major, obviously the 750 horsepower package and more tire wear and shorter spoiler. We were going to see those at short tracks, but we were also going to see it at a track like Darlington. And honestly, I think it really served well. Of course, we always want more horsepower. That's not, you know, something that anybody is opposed of. But I will say that was a great step in the right direction. And it wasn't a barn burner race by any means necessary, but it was still a race that after the victory line celebration and post race interviews went on, you would go, yeah, that was really good. That was solid. I give that a B plus. I give that a B plus. Honestly, I give it a B plus. Now, even after we made this change this season, NASCAR, according to jski.com, NASCAR is still considering adding more horsepower to other tracks as well. Mainly, mile and a half tracks, which is something that a lot of fans have been clamoring for as of late, which I think the next gen has run solid at mile and a half tracks. It has gotten a little bit more flat as of late. Some people have said, oh, you could hear them running a little bit flat out, and I could somewhat hear it, but there's still a little bit of off throttle time with that package. But adding more to those tracks, adding 750 horsepower to those racetracks in particular, is something that I'm definitely not opposed to. When was the last time when we saw 750 at mile and a half tracks? 2018? Correct me if I'm wrong. But during the JSK article reports this. During the last episode of Hauler Talk, NASCAR Vice President of Race Communication Mike Ford said NASCAR would consider introducing additional horsepower at 1.5 mile ovals and longer. But it's unlikely this season. So if we were to get something, it would more than likely be next year. So sorry, fans. I know you're clamoring for it, but but we're not going to get that this year. 2027, though, more likely. Mike Ford's quote reads as follows: "We just felt that you look at the mile and a half races, and I think everyone's in agreement that it's the best racing we have. And let's not fix what's broken," he said. "We don't want to hurt something that we all feel is pretty good. I think it's good as a fan, but I always think it could be better." That's what I'm saying, not what he's saying. "I think this is more of a 2027 situation. So what we have for the remainder of the year, we're going to stick with that. At the end of the season, we'll look at Darlington, Nashville, Gateway, and the short tracks and see how they raced, and how the mile and a halves race too. Because every single year, the teams catch up to the car and fine-tune it, and that affects the racing." So Mike Ford's not wrong in this whole thing, because I feel like, and I don't want this to be like a thing where NASCAR is like saying, oh, well, we're going to look at it and then just like kind of brush it under the rug. If they were able to make a change this past offseason, who's to say that they couldn't do another one again? But I think I like the way he kind of thinks with the idea of like, well, let's look and see how they'll race at these other tracks first, and then we'll if there is something, if it does improve the racing product, we will make that decision. So I don't blame him for fully doing that. The thing that I had coming into this topic was the fact that I just think that it was unrealistic that we would see anything as the season is currently going on. I mean, we're already 6 races in. But I'm just thankful that we got a horsepower increase at places where we know that the product was struggling. Now, this weekend at Martinsville is going to be, I think, the true test, because we saw 750 at Phoenix, we saw 750 at Darlington, and while those races were, you saw a little bit of change in their own right, it's tracks like Martinsville and Bristol and New Hampshire and like tracks like that. Those are the tracks that I'm mainly going to be paying attention to seeing how good this car races with this package, how the tire wear will be, how will the 3-inch spoiler make a difference. That's what I'm looking for. But now we had more JRM news today. Junior Motorsports announces yet another part-time driver to the NASCAR Rally Auto Parts Series this year. Jake Finch, a driver currently in the ARCA Menards Series, the son of James Finch, former owner of Phoenix Racing, will run 5 races in the number 9 Chevrolet this year, beginning this July at Atlanta Motor Speedway. His next 4 starts will be at Darlington September 5th, Bristol September 18th, Charlotte October 10th, coincidentally my birthday, and Talladega on October 24th. So I had heard rumors before that Jake Finch was kind of next in line to get some starts in the series, and now we finally have them. He will also have a sponsorship, I believe, from HendrickCars.com as well recently. But yeah, so very happy for Jake Finch. I'm really curious to see what he makes of this opportunity. He's won races at Daytona and Talladega in the ARCA Menards series, as well as Dover as well. Like, anytime when he shows up to the Monster Mile, he's definitely going to be the car to beat. I don't know if that's just a him thing or a Nitro Motorsports thing, previously known as Venturini. I don't know. But big congrats to him. I can't wait to see what he does in his first start. Of course, it's still months away at a track that is, I don't think he's ever experienced before. I mean, he's experienced drafting style racing, but not to this level, not to that speed. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to that. But very excited for Jake Finch. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show that a country singer, a 3-time Grammy Award-winning country singer, Darius Rucker, has announced that he will become an investor for Legacy Motor Club. Of course, LMC, Toyota team of both Nemechek and John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones. He will now be an official investor of the team alongside Jimmy Johnson and stuff like that. Now, I am not a big country fan by any stretch of the imagination, but seeing artists like this be involved in the sport, I definitely think is very, very interesting, to say the least. Not much is really known on like what the role he's going to be playing a part of per se, but I'm guessing Darius is a big time racing fan. The fact that he wants to invest in this is definitely really cool to see. But we're always open to stars into this sport, even if it's on music. Even if it's on music genres that I don't really like. I don't know why I couldn't get that sentence out of my head there, but there you go. But yeah, so that's some big news for them over at Legacy Motor Club. They continue to build each and every time they step on the racetrack and try to make strides to becoming better, which, of course, with the most recent, the biggest recent update for Legacy Motor Club, according to Jimmy Johnson from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio a couple weeks back, he did say that Legacy Motor Club will have a third full-time car out on the grid next year. Now, where they get that charter and who will be driving that seat, we can only guess from here on out. Personally, if you ask me what my prediction is, I would lean, and I know what a lot of people are going to say, because there's other things that have to fall in play for this to happen, but I do believe they will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Jesse Love took that seat. Jimmy Johnson in the past has spoken very, very highly on Jesse Love and the potential that he brings. Of course, the defending series champion in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, one of the youngest drivers to win a NASCAR sanctioned championship at the age of 15, a constant contender for race wins week in and week out. Jimmy sees the potential in Love, and honestly, I definitely see it too. And Love is not unfamiliar with Toyota too. Before getting to RCR, he was a Toyota development driver and won an ARCA Menards Series championship with the now defunct Venturini Motorsports in 2023. He won 10 of the 20 scheduled races, and then won his very first O'Reilly Series race at Talladega, and has done well since then. Now, what is Jesse Love ready for the Cup Series? Right now, he's currently in his third full-time year in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and only 3 career wins to his total right now in that series, which of course is more than others, but that's still something to point out. And he does bring funding with him, mainly C4 Energy, one of the more popular sports fitness energy drinks out there. Has always sponsored him in his part-time Cup Series efforts. So I'm curious to see if he were to get that seat, if C4 would definitely foot the bill with him for him, and maybe even Dollar Tree and Family Dollar as well. They're a big group with LMC as well, so they always pitch sponsorship to them on any given Sunday. So that's something to point out as well. But yeah, Darius Rucker and Legacy Motor Club, now big time investors with each other as well. Now moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to Martinsville Speedway this weekend. The 7th race of the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. As I mentioned earlier in the show, really looking forward to seeing how the package at this race runs. It's the 400 lap race, the Cookout 400, this upcoming Sunday. Curious to see how Chevrolet does at Martinsville as well, because this is the first time since 2019 that Hendrick Motorsports has gone this long without a win to start the season. And a lot of people are asking, should we be concerned about Hendrick Motorsports? What's the big deal here? Personally, I'm not that worried about it. Now, if we get to mid-season and they're still struggling mightily, then I'll raise concerns. But I don't know when they're going to strike. That's the thing, though. It's really hard to predict when they're going to strike, because there are times where they can show speed, but there's also times where they're still trying to figure out this new Chevrolet body for this year. So I'm curious to see how they run at Martinsville, because Hendrick Motorsports, that is their playground. Of course, last year, Denny Hamlin ended up winning this very race, but I do believe that if there's any week for HMS and Chevy to really strike, it could definitely be Martinsville. So, but will I pick an HMS Chevy? We'll just have to wait and see. But let's take a look at the weekend schedule for this week, ladies and gentlemen. No Truck Series race on Friday night at Martinsville, which is kind of sad to see, because we always had the 3 series running here in the spring and the fall, but not this year. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will be here on Saturday, so let's take a look at their schedule. To catch practice at qualifying, practice for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series will begin at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday the 27th, with qualifying following right after at 5:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both will be streamed on the CW app. And then Saturday, March 28th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 7th race of the O'Reilly Auto Parts 2026 season will be ran on CW Sports. Now for the Cup Series this weekend, practice for the Cookout 400 will begin at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, with qualifying following right after at 1:40 p.m. Both will be streamed on Prime Video. And then Sunday, March 29th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Cookout 400 from Martinsville Speedway will be ran on FS1. So there you have it. That is your weekend schedule for this upcoming week, ladies and gentlemen. And let's get into race picks. Now, before this episode, we always make our picks before the weekend. Adam already made his picks, but Emma is still vacant with hers. So since Adam is leading this week, he will go first with his picks. For the O'Reilly Series race, he is going to go with Carson Quaffle to win this race. I am not hating on that pick whatsoever. I think that's a very good pick to have. Now, my pick might be a little bit controversial because this guy has Ryan in the top 10 for pretty much every single race this year, but it hasn't come without a little bit of controversy here and there. I am going to go with the 17 car of Corey Day to win his first ever race in the series. This plan might backfire on me, but let's go with a little bit of a wild card pick. So give me Corey Day to win. But now, for the main event on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, Martinsville Speedway. Can I rebound this week, or can Adam extend his lead? We'll just have to wait and see. But for Adam's pick, he's going to go with the 24 car of William Byron. So, as we mentioned, HMS struggling to start the year, but William Byron has won here multiple times at Martinsville, both the 2022 and 2024 spring winners of the race, and also just the defending Martinsville winner as a whole. He won the 2025 fall race here to lock himself into a championship spot. Who's to say he can't win this weekend? So Adam's pick is William Byron. I actually really wanted to pick a Hendrick Chevy to win. I really did. But it's not one of those weeks. I am actually instead going to go with a Ford driver. And he's won at Martinsville before. Not in the spring, but also in the fall. Give me the 12 car of Ryan Blaney to win. I think that's one of the safer picks to have. Blaney, second in points right now. He's going into a racetrack where he's won numerous grandfather clocks at. Already has a win this year at Phoenix. Who's to say that he can't do it again in a track like Martinsville? So give me the 12 car to win. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, those are our race picks to recap for the O'Reilly Series. Adam has Carson Quaffle. I have Corey Day. And for Cup, he has William Byron. I have Ryan Blaney. But with also that being said, that'll do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening to this week's edition of Revved Up. Tune in next week, as while we won't have a Cup Series race due to it being Easter weekend, we will still discuss Rockingham for both the Truck and O'Reilly Series races. So, as always, I have been your host, Carter Leonard, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.